Chapter 3 begins with the story of Eric, who had been exposed to domestic violence in childhood, was diagnosed with ADHD at 8 years old. He had learning disabilities, and he was acting aggressively at home and at school, and on top of all that, he was using marijuana. His mother sought assistance with Family and Children's Services of Minnesota for help. Both Eric and his mother did receive counseling. Eric participated in counseling for his anger issues, as well as a program for boys who are physically abusive or intimidating to family members. And Eric was successful. He connected with counselors and he completed the program. He went on to graduate high school and attended college classes, and he spends time speaking and volunteering at the program that he completed. And he states that his goals are to work with troubled teens and help set them on the right path. So as we move forward, considering the story of Eric and those who are like Eric, the experts begin to question. They question whether the root cause of juvenile behaviors is found among social and economic factors, or is it personal? What makes kids engage in delinquent behavior and others don't? And there's two views. There's the choice theory and there's the trait theory that we're going to talk about in this chapter. The choice theory, in sum, is juvenile offenders are rational decision makers who make their own choices, and they choose to engage in delinquent behavior because they believe that they will benefit. And then our trait theory, in sum, is that youths engage in delinquent behavior because of abnormal physical or psychological, some sort of abnormal physical or psychological trait that governs their behavior choice, kind of like Eric. So, why do adolescents choose delinquent or antisocial behavior? We're going to start with the choice theory. Delinquents choose to commit crimes because they find violating the law is attractive, not because they are a product of a poverty-stricken environment, broken home, or troubled family. They do it out of personal choice and their own free will. In deciding whether there is a benefit to commit a crime, an adolescent, and people in general, but we're talking about adolescents here, they weigh the consequences. And this theory is the result of a 200-year-old study. It formerly was called the classical theory. Now it's over the years has changed to the rational choice theory and now the choice theory. And it was created by Cesare Beccaria, a scholar that theorized that people commit crimes for their own pleasure and reward. And to curb this, his position was that punishment should be enough to deter the lure of criminal gain. If it's too lenient, it won't be taken seriously. If it's too harsh, criminals will have nothing to lose. Adolescents, in this case, will have nothing to lose. So take, for example, if you get the death penalty for committing a crime like rape, then the logic is, then why not just kill the rape victim too? So under the choice theory, adolescents choose to commit crimes. They weigh the benefits with fear of punishment. If the rewards outweigh the risk, after reviewing and weighing all available information, the delinquent will commit the crime. And I want to take a moment. Let's use the definition in the book for delinquent. A delinquent is a youth who maintain the propensity to commit delinquent acts. Not all delinquents commit delinquent acts, but youths that maintain the propensity to commit delinquent acts is our definition for delinquent. So under this theory, they're going to weigh the benefits with fear of punishment. If the rewards outweigh the risk, after reviewing and weighing all the available information, the delinquent will commit a crime. But not all delinquents act or choose to commit crime or a delinquent act. But what factors are linked to this decision to do so? what motivates one to take such action? And there's a number of them: economic and opportunity. It's quicker to commit a crime than that would reap a significant reward compared to getting a job. And which kind of jobs are available for an adolescent these days? Like minimum wage jobs, fast food. And in some circumstances, the individual isn't even old enough to work a job. In New York, you gotta be 16. Other jobs, they'll make exceptions for 15. But to get a job at a fast food restaurant, you have to be 16 years old. They might have a drug habit to support, and they need money quick. If the habit progresses, so does the need for more drugs, hence more money. And the FBI's database shows that an average burglary nets an individual $2,000. A robbery, $1,200. Robbery is forcefully taking something from somebody. That has serious consequences. In New York State, it's mandatory prison. So those that see their criminal activity as a growing enterprise or a way to move up the chain to a higher position, hence make more money. We'll talk about a drug dealer who's high up on the chain. They might be somebody who's a young individual, adolescent, might be 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. They might be what they call now a mule, where they're just hustling and transporting and bringing the drugs places, but they might aspire to be the next person up, the manager, or they run their own section of the neighborhood. They might see their criminal activity as a growing enterprise. Problem solving is our other area. Kids engage in another factor, I should say, that kids engage in delinquent behavior to help cope with personal problems. They may turn to drugs to help with anxiety or increase their sense of power in their neighborhood, right? They join gangs, they feel more powerful, they're more assertive. They engage in such behavior to feel more alive and more competent. So another motivating factor is to solve their problems. So we have economic need, opportunity, problem solving. Maintaining respect is another area. If you can take care of yourself on the street by resorting to violence, it builds their self-image on respect. Without it, they're vulnerable. So they engage in these delinquent acts to maintain and establish their respect. And that tentatively a false expectation, but maintaining their respect. Opportunity I lumped with the economic need, but I want to talk about excitement and thrills, or edge work as it's referred to. Delinquent acts, they do these delinquent acts, it's motivated by the need for excitement. It provides, the danger is the thrill. That's the sole motivation. It's not profit. It's getting that thrill, the dangerous thrill, and the riskier, the more attractive the act becomes. So there are a number of factors that play a role in encouraging delinquent acts. Is there any that may discourage delinquent acts? Those are the factors that encourage delinquents to commit a crime. And there are factors that persuade them otherwise. There's a handful of them in the reading material. They may not choose to commit delinquents may not choose to commit a delinquent act. Some factors that may influence that decision to remain law-abiding: parental supervision, right? The parents are around. They don't want to, they're afraid of what the consequence would be at home, but there's parental supervision. So watching out for the acts, keeping children in, maintaining a curfew, that sort of thing. Limited opportunities to commit a crime. When delinquents are otherwise engaged in other activities, such as going to school or after school activities or community events or a job, they're not just sitting around idle. There's limited opportunities to engage in delinquent acts. Social concerns. Most kids won't choose crime because they have been taught that it's wrong and immoral, or in other words, to treat other people with respect. So all of those play a role in discouraging delinquency, factors that discourage delinquency. Talk about a concept called routine activities theory. In the last chapter, we discussed that delinquency rates rise and fall. Why do they fall? And why is delinquency prone to some areas and not others? Well, choice theorists examine the interaction of three things: the motivated offenders, capable guardians, and suitable targets as an explanation for delinquency. In 1979, Cohen and Felsen, criminologists, they questioned why urban crime rates increased during the 1960s, when the factors commonly thought to cause violent crime, such as poor economic conditions, had generally improved at that time. They suggested that a crime should be thought of as an event that occurs at a specific location and time and involves specific people and or objects. They argued that crime events required three minimal elements to converge in time and space. One, an offender who was prepared to commit the offense, so a motivated offender. An example of that would be an unemployed teenager. Two, a suitable target, such as a human victim to be assaulted. That's a predatory crime, a crime against a person. Or a piece of property to be stolen. And number three, the absence of a guardian capable of preventing the crime. That's police is an example of that, a neighbor, homeowner. The lack of any of these elements, they argued, would be sufficient to prevent a crime event from occurring. Drawing from human ecological theories, Cohen and Felsen, they suggested that structural changes in societal routine activity patterns can influence crime rates by affecting the likelihood of the convergence in time and space of these three necessary elements. As the routine activities of people change, the likelihood of targets converging in time and space with motivated offenders without guardians also changes. So in other words, opportunities for crime and in turn crime patterns are a function of the routine activity patterns in society. And despite their youth, kids will consider these factors before committing a crime. A delinquent may routinely walk through specific neighborhoods looking for homes that appear as easy targets for burglary, or into buildings in a commercial area to seek opportunities for theft. Because in many families, all adults work, homes are often unoccupied during the day, which can become suitable targets for burglary. Neighborhood watch and alarm systems can prevent crime, i.e. those are guardians. Commercial buildings without access, controls, or other security methods, likewise, can become suitable targets. Capable guardian can be a number of things. I already mentioned a few: the neighbor, the police, but it can be ordinary people who can intervene or serve as a witness. It could be a security camera or security personnel. With the assumption that these three elements are present in a situation, the theory is based on two central propositions. First, lifestyles of routine activities create criminal opportunity structures by increasing the frequency and intensity of contacts between potential offenders and suitable targets, like cash, jewelry, car, electronics, gear, a person to rob. And second, potential offenders likely assess that perceived value of a target as well as whether there are any available forms of guardianship or lack thereof present when considering when, where, and upon whom to commit their crimes. So I note that delinquency rates are linked to the number of motivated offenders in the environment. And as such, if a delinquent is otherwise engaged in a job, after-school activities, or programs, they are a less motivated offender. And you may recall from previous discussions in previous chapters that the youth crimes make up a large percentage of the crime rate. The age range of 14 to 18-year-olds, young men, commit the large percentage of crimes. So if we keep them occupied, then they're not necessarily motivated offenders. So here's the chart when all of these things, so under the choice theory, a teen will consider a motivated motivated offender teen will consider their suitable targets. Is it a suitable target? Is there a lack of a capable guardian? If all of those things come together, we have the Delinquency Act. Next, we are going to visit the choice theory and whether or not delinquency can be prevented.